This is the Extra Sheet, the unofficial Age of Empires 4 podcast, hosted by me, Socerton, along with Beale and Sir Nevels. How are we doing today, guys?
What's going on, man?
Pretty good today.
Yeah. We got a bit of a change of plans in this episode. We originally were going to have our dear friend 104 Tim on to talk about Chinese and how to beat them and do a big in-depth discussion on that. Tim got roped into casting, so he is busy. Therefore, we are going to postpone that for probably next episode or maybe further down the line. But we have a backup topic and a lot more content for you today. So we will be discussing a number of things. You'll probably have already known what we're talking about if you looked at the description of the episode. But before we get into our main topic today, let's head on into a news hour break real quick. Top AoE news that I found this week, and then we'll have Sir Nevels give us a Golden League recap, which just finished for us recording in today. It just wrapped up. But AoE news, I don't have a ton. Top of the list, I think, is that Rising Empires has started a 2v2 league. So if anyone's out there is interested in, doing a competitive game with partners and having a multiplayer league, that is a thing now. I think it's the first of its kind, right, Beale?
I believe it is. Yeah, it's huge. I know a lot of people have reached out to Rising Empires. You do the weekly 1v1s for low elo, and then their War Chief Club, which is an open tournament, but like for conquerors, basically to get tournament points. And those have all been 1v1 tourneys historically. And I know they've received a lot of feedback from people asking, like, when are you going to do something with the 2v2 format? And so recently, they ran a 2v2 tournament and had a whole bunch of signups, had 2 divisions. It was a great success. And so they gave it a couple of weeks. Attico, who works with Rising Empires, basically runs everything, went and devised a league format for 2v2, where it's based on seasons. So after a season, the people in the top division will have playoffs for the cash pool, while there are multiple divisions and there's promotions and relegations after each season. So you can start in Division 3 and work your way up eventually to Division 1. There's been a lot of signups recently. I know big names. You got Beastie and Marine Lord on a team that they've already signed up. Yeah.
Wow.
You've got the 3D clan making an appearance. You got Anatand and B and Cat. All those people from 3D. Other big names. You've got a lot of people who aren't as well known in Age of Empires 4 to a lot of people because they specifically only play in team formats. I know you got the Devils team, which has Laughing Fox, Jigglypuff, Housed Horse. Not huge names to a lot of people in the AoE 4 scene, but if you are into team games, you definitely know who those guys are. So there's going to be multiple divisions, like with Low Elo Legends with Rising Empires. You're going to have a division for you. I've signed up. I'm a mid-plat 1v1 player, and I really haven't played enough team games to get a good sense of where I'm at there. But I've put together a team with a couple of my friends from a few Discords, a couple of guys who are regulars in tournaments. And honestly, if you're looking to compete in a 2v2 setting, that's different than taking your chance on ranked ladder. I highly recommend checking out the Rising Empire League, which starts on April 1st is the qualifiers. Season 1 starts with those qualifiers and then will run 2 months. So if you want to get in, by the time you're listening to this, you better get some people together and get in ASAP.
Yeah, this will be posted. We'll probably have this episode either up on Monday or Tuesday. I didn't realize that it attracted so many big names. That's news to me. I knew there was a lot of hype about it, but wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of big names. Of course, Beastie and Marine Lord being
like the biggest players. Name. Yeah,
but there are quite a lot of other, like, you got Wham in there, you got Puppy Paw as well on a team here, and then a lot of classic like team players who strictly play team games.
Yeah, I've been getting more involved with Sir Nevels might have been noticing this too. I've been getting more involved with the Griat Bara lately and playing more team games the last couple weeks in particular. And I didn't realize a lot of these guys, I didn't realize there's such a large segment of people who play AoE that only do team games. I mean, I think of it so much as a 1v1 game, but the nice thing about this game is that there's that multiplayer team aspect that I hadn't touched too much. I'd done a little bit, like I've dabbled in it, but to actually start playing, I ended up being like, for instance, I've been playing so many team games. I'm still gold 2 in this season. And I'm climbing. I'm getting matched up with plat 2 and plat 1 guys all the time. So when I'm winning, I'm getting like 30 plus points. I'm climbing the ladder, but I've been playing so many more team games. I'm actually plat 2 in team games and only gold 2 in 1v1s because I just haven't been playing 1v1s lately.
I don't know, man. I'm kind of thinking that team games, I don't want to. I mean, I said I'm more a fan of 1v1, but man, team games are really. I think ever since the start becoming more implemented in big tournaments, they might be honestly trumping 1v1 soon enough. Eventually, like I see a lot more people, like as far as like the people I've been playing with, as far as the Great Bar Discord, team to team game lobbies are all, they're always filled up, and man, multiple guys running team games where like 1v1 still, still relevant, but I kind of think just the team aspect and different strategies you can actually come up with a partner might be taking over a little bit.
Yeah, I think if you're going to go randoms, I think the consensus that I kind of have gleaned is that if you're going to go for a random match, you're better off doing a 1v1. If you want to play team games, usually you'll end up actually finding a group and playing and hopping in a Discord with them, as opposed to just trying to, random teams just always felt kind of rough in this game. But I think the growing communities from like the Griat Bara to the Rising Empires, I think there's been a lot of a surge almost in team games lately that I've noticed at least.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this league is going to take the place of something that was needed. I think there hasn't been a lot of consistent, competitive, organized team games. Even if you go ranked teams on the ladder, I know a lot of people complain that the matchmaking is so wonky with that. You could be, I queued up 2 days ago. I'm not a very highly ranked team player, but me and my buddy got thrown into a game against two people in the top 100 team ranked. And it was a learning experience. We did a little better than we thought we'd do, but we eventually lost that one.
That's a tricky thing with team games, I think, too, because you could have like a bunch of silver players and one conquer player on a team. Like that can happen, You can have just whether that they just team up on their own or on a Discord call, or sometimes it can be really random. You never know what you're going to get. And I think that's kind of the difficulty with the matchmaking. It's a bit wonky there, but I think with these competitive play, I think that's definitely going to help give people an avenue to have kind of easily paired teams. I know there's been a lot of work behind the scenes from Rising Empires to get the teams equal. There've been a lot of ways of how do you balance teams. I'm part of the staff for Rising Empires as well, so I get to kind of see what the admins are chatting about. And boy, it's a lot of work to get this up and going. They've been thinking and planning it for a while.
Yeah, and I think that it's so hard to figure out where a team elo should be. Like it's easy with 1v1s to split up 3 brackets because you just look at the number and you make 3 groupings. But when you've got teams with like a very strong player and a weaker player, I think breaking it out in divisions and having promotions and relegations after initial play-in tournament is the way to go and keep things pretty balanced.
That's sweet. Beale, can you maybe dive in a little bit more into what kind of the commitment is for this? If anyone's listening and really wants to hop in still soon, how many games are we talking during the season, and how much do you have to time to set aside for the week? Because I know for like low ELO Legends, you're giving up most of your Saturday. If you live in the US on the West Coast, you roll out of bed at like 10 o'clock, you're playing until 5. Especially if you go into the finals and semifinals. How much time of a commitment is this to join the league?
So with the league, you get your matchup every week. So you and the other team will schedule out when you actually want to play your matches during the week. So it's not, you don't have to dedicate your Saturdays like if you're playing LEL tournaments. And I believe it is, I think you play the first month, You play 4 matches, and each match is not a best of 3. It is play all 3. Because if you're in Division 1, every single map that you win, you earn money based on donations. And I think for the inaugural season, we've had an insane donation from one player. I gotta find his name right now and shout him out.
It was a big donation too. It was like not we're not talking like small chump change. It was like, oh my gosh, how does he have the ability to do this?
Yeah, B-Dod donated a few thousand to the inaugural season. Wow. So that means I think we're looking at right around $2 to $3 for each map won in Division 1, not including what's going into the prize pool to be paid out at the end of the playoffs at the end of the season. So with you play 3 maps a week, and if you're in Division 1, play 3 maps a week, and I believe there are 7 weeks before the playoffs of regular season play.
Hey, Socerton here again. Just wanted to add a quick little addendum to this. Beale wanted me to note that in the Division 1 teams, we'll have to play 2 series each week, and the other divisions will be playing 1 each week. So just wanted to make sure we got that right. Back to the show.
And go from there. So time commitment, honestly, you sign up. You do need to commit your first weekend to the qualifiers. That is going to be a bunch of games all in one day. But after that, after the qualifiers, you come in, you coordinate with the other team, you decide when you want to play those 3 matches, and that's it. It's just 3 games over the course of a week. It is not too intensive. Also, every team has to have at least 3 players. You need at least 1 alternate, just in case, someone can't make it during a certain week. You need to have someone as a backup. You can have up to 3 alternates on your team.
This is legit, man. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we got some big names, and there's still room in the lower divisions to come in, start playing, get used to the competitive teams format, and earn those promotions and dodge relegations after each season.
Wow. And this is all on top of what Rising Empires is doing with the Low Elo Legends and the War Chief Club each Saturday too, or each weekend.
Yeah, the 1v1 tournaments, the weekly series, Lel and War Chief Club will continue alongside with this.
Wow. You guys are busy, man.
I can imagine.
No, man, that sounds like a headache just listening to it. Oh my goodness, I admire them.
Yeah, the shout outs to all the tournament organizers.
They've had I go onto the Rising Empires every now and then. I casted this yesterday, and just going through some of the conversations, I don't know how these guys, it's like a full-time job, how much they're like, all the different threads they're on, all the different things that they're planning. They work hard. They work really hard, and they all do it basically for free. It's all just, the money's kind of just circling right back to the community.
For free. Yeah. No one gets paid from Rising. It's 100% volunteer.
Yeah.
Man, it's insane. That is insane.
Other news I have, this isn't really news for AoE, but it's topical, I suppose. I came across an interesting article. Obviously, many of us are aware of the current war that's happening between Russia and Ukraine. I saw an interesting thing that was talking about that Ukraine, or there was a kind of a rising call in Ukraine to change the name of Russia to Muscovy. Which, I mean, there's a lot of history behind this. And I was like, what the heck? I don't know much as an American. I don't know a lot about the history of Russia and Ukraine or like Belarus, all those Rus countries. So I did some history and did some diving in. And actually, 10-4 Tim actually gave us a little bit of a history right up here in our timeline. He can't be here with us, but I'm going to use his write-up regardless. He mentions that the Kievan Rus, Kiev being for Kiev, the city and the capital of Ukraine, in the late 9th, it happened. The Kievan Rus was from the 9th to the early 15th century. Most of the land expansion was from the White Sea, just east of like the Scandinavian Peninsula, to the Black Sea, and then the northern body of water that's modern day Turkey. So during the mid 10th century, land passed through the 3 major modern day countries of Belarus, Russia, and Ukraine, with the former two deriving their name, of course, from the medieval empire. The name Rus is derived from an Old Norse term meaning one who rows, as in rowing through Eastern European rivers, which are, just all across there. I think of the Dnipro River, the big one that goes through Ukraine. The term Kievan Rus has been used to nominally distinguish the empire that was found in both Russia and Ukrainian textbooks dating back to the 19th century. So there's a lot of history behind this. There's a lot of today, right, in the news, if you look it up, there's a lot of this war that's happening is basically because Putin and Russia, claim Ukraine as their historical land, as the Slavic Rus people. And that's kind of where some of this weirdness is kind of coming from. But I think this kind of applies to AoE IV in that I think it's interesting that Rus isn't just short for Russia. It's more of it's different. The Rus is not quite the same as Ukraine or Russia today. It's kind of the heritage of both. And the AoE kind of does this where they take the old civs and it's sometimes they're amalgamation of new civs. I think of like the Malians are the Malian civ isn't really a civ that's here today. It's kind of an amalgamation of a couple of African countries, but it's being used and it's trying to represent them still in the game. So kind of an interesting tidbit that I just came across that I thought was interesting and reminded me of, AoE IV because Bruce.
Yeah, I believe that AoE IV does have a couple civilizations game, like as far as like the HRE.
Yeah.
The HRE is like that's a breakdown of a multitude of countries and domains and all that good stuff. So like the Rus, when I first started playing Age of Empires 4, I was not a history buff at all. I didn't really know much at all. So when I thought Rus, I just thought, oh, Rus, short for Russia. Boom, makes sense. And and it's a lot more complicated than that. A lot more, and I remember, and I did also I'm happy you mentioned the fact that when it comes down to Rus, it's actually a Norse term for like men who row, and like I learned that actually from a Northman, a movie, just like this medieval history in the Middle Ages, it's actually kind of like up in the air if it actually even existed. Like it is so in depth, and it's so hard to break it down into just like one, nationality or one just civilization as a whole. So I think they did a pretty good job on dividing it up as best they could and making it as simple as possible.
Yeah, and a lot of what we look at is kind of from our lenses today. I mean, I look at for instance, French and English. If you play through the campaign on AoE IV, you'll see that a lot of northern France was owned by England, and then France later invades England, and that's where you get the Norman conquests. So, I mean, and even then, if you look at English, the language we speak as English today it'd be really, really, really hard for us to recognize anything that's considered Old English, which is around the time period of 1000 AD. We wouldn't be able to, it's a different language at this point. Because our language today is, there's Old English, then there's Middle English, which we would probably recognize bits and pieces of Old English. And after about the 1500s, we would be able to understand, it'd be hard, but we'd understand English as it was spoken in England then. But it's evolved. It's different, Want
to hear a fun fact about the game that I didn't even know until just recently? So with every civilization in the game, like for example, in English, like in Age 1, it's like really, really like Anglo-Saxon, really old, like non-recognizable English. Miles not even any normal English speakers is not even a language to us. But every time you age up, the language evolves.
By the time you get to Age 4, it's basically it's almost Middle English, and you almost can start picking out the words.
You can hear some things they're saying, I'm
your worker.
I'm your worker.
Yeah, I'm your worker. Now I do there's a trebuchet on the ready. Like you hear you're like, oh, I know what that means. Yeah,
it's really fun too because there are English. There is, like I mentioned, like we could probably, if we were all placed in Old England, we would probably, because we already speak modern English, we could probably learn Old English fairly easily, especially if you were, because there's a huge, I'm a bit of a linguist at heart. So I was going to go into linguistics. So I have a bit of a background in this and I've studied some of this up. It's kind of interesting. There was a huge vowel shift in how we pronounce our vowels around 1600, like 1600 was a huge vowel shift. So a lot of like retende out, oot, they say oot instead of out. And it's like, there's certain things like that are just slightly different and the vowels are just shifted a little bit. But if you can kind of hear it, you'll see, a lot of those words. And as they progress through the ages, it gets really close, especially in Age 4 for English. Those words get really close to being recognizable. Like even for the French, if anyone speaks like Spanish or Latin languages or even French itself, like equites, equestrian, meaning horse. The knights will say that all the time. Or caballo, which sounds very similar to like what's the word for cowboy in Spanish or like in Latin? It's very similar words. So I love the audio design in this game. Like so well done.
Well, I learned a lot just hearing you speak right there. That was pretty good.
Yeah, and I'm not even an expert. I probably the best part of this. I think I heard someone mention this. Actually, it might have been the voiceless one yesterday when I was casting. He mentioned that like this game just has so much detail in those little things that we often are so zoomed out. We're like not even we're worried about our production and our tech upgrades and our resource counts. We barely even get to appreciate. You don't get to stop and smell the roses of Age of Empires 4 when you're in the heat of battle. You know.
That's crazy though. I love it.
Well, I've done a lot of talking. Sir Nevels, good sir, you've been waiting very patiently to give us our Golden League recap. It just wrapped up. Quite the, I won't say a scandal, but quite the interesting thing, right? Go ahead and tell us what happened.
Okay, just as far as anybody who's not too familiar, Golden League, it's basically like the single S tier event in Age of Empires 4 right now, led by the tournament host or the one that funded everything, Pesty. He pretty much is he kind of runs like I'll probably say now if he continues with the annual tournament. He had one last year, Golden League, and as a sequel to it. And it basically just like it's about 3 rounds, and they all kind of have different tropes to each round. And now we actually just wrapped up the pretty much placement rounds to get into the playoffs, and it's a $70,000 cash prize. I guess I say you actually divided between all the players, but there's a prize pulled in, and now we're officially got the official seedings for the playoffs, and the very last round is wrapped up. The last round, the main little theme around it was called off-meta combat. Really quick with that, basically just the 4 most popular civs on each map are banned. So, usually, guys, when they play in a tournament, they want to win, so they use the most viable civilization on that map. Well, not an option this round because those civilizations are banned. Now, getting into round 3, you know what? I mean, this was off meta combat, so it was different. I mean, I may probably say up in the air if it was the most entertaining of all of the rounds, but just quick little spoiler alert. It literally just wrapped up right before we started the show, and the winner of this 3rd round was a very famous name in the AoE IV community, BC Cutie. He went up against the winner of last round, Marine Lord, and it went all 7 games. I mean, all 7 games. Yeah, the very last game of each round is 7 games, and they played it all out in the end. But a little bit of I don't know if you call it controversy, but maybe something that wasn't the most entertaining to fans. One of the caveats, one of the things about this round is that there is no the 4 civilizations are banned, but there's like no draft system, so you can pick any civ that's not banned as much as you want, back to back, whatever. There is no stipulation on that. And I was watching earlier before I got on the show, and the very last matchup between BC and Marine Lord, BC Cutie, he decided to, before actually they even started playing, there's a lot of Malian mirrors. A lot of players picking Malians. I guess Malians, they have a strategy that's kind of being like opened up and explored throughout this tournament. So a lot of people are picking Malians, and it was kind of already like kind of a joke. It's like leading up to the last game about like how's a lot of Malian mirrors. But so the very last match between Marine Lord and Beastie pretty much said, hey, no, don't be surprised. You're going to be seeing Malian. He's using the chat saying that you're going to be seeing Malians all game. And he picked Malians for a best of 7 that went all 7 games. He chose Malians all 7 games. And for a moment there, Marine Lord also chose the Malians. So we had 2 mirror matches in a set that one player picked Malians the whole game. So it was not a very versatile round, because if you even look at the brackets, a lot of players picked kind of the same civs. It was a very heavy on Rus. There's a lot of Rus for the most part. It was a lot of Malians. Once again, French were the one civilization that was banned on 0 maps and got no play. I don't know what's going on with the French. It's kind of
they're in such a bad spot right now. They're in such a bad spot.
On, man. I'm getting really nervous, man. Nobody picked. I thought the French would be a lot more viable in this one.
I had one game. I almost made this my extra sheep. It's not. I will go ahead and just say this real quick. I had one game on Prairie. I might actually make Beale when next time he's streaming. I might make him actually give me his analysis and cast on this because it was the weirdest game I've ever had. On Prairie, I was French on Prairie, going 2 scout opening into Ottomans. And the game was just an absolute mess. Eventually I did win, but it was just ridiculous. I eventually just had killed so many villagers that Ottomans was just producing out of their military schools, and that was it. But yeah, it was a struggle. It was such a struggle. I was playing French as well as I could, and French are just not good right now, are they? I don't know.
They might need. I don't know exactly because I think about that. That's why you kind of got I don't give the developers such a hard time because balancing games like this is extremely difficult because you want to put in enough to make them viable where they're an option to play, especially because we all kind of look, if you look at the, gold, platinum level, French still get some love and they don't have a really bad losing record. They're still middle tier. But if you look at the pro scene, we're talking Conquer and above, Conquer 1, 2, and 3. The French are really dead in the water. A lot of people predicted with the French guy with the last patch, they got to upgrade to their Chamber of Commerce, where when they research tech that they get free traders. And everyone thought the Chamber of Commerce would be okay, the new meta. We're kind of something else controversial right now. We're kind of in a big time trade meta where trade is really starting to fly off the rails a little bit. So everyone thought French were about to make a little resurgence with their Chamber of Commerce update. And it's just not. It just really has not. Maybe you see a Conquer 3 playing a regular, ranked ladder game, they might try it out. But as far as when the real meat and potatoes of the whole thing, big tournaments, no one's using French. I mean, no any player Marine Lord was, very much considered by a lot of people the best player in Age of Empire. If not him, Beastie Cutie, but he's probably top 3, if most definitely. And he was known for his French play. He was known for being very, very efficient with the French. He has not touched that civilization the entire tournament.
I've got a stat for you here. We've been talking about Malians and the French on this. I just looked it up. And now take this with a grain of salt. There's only been 131 games of this matchup. And it says too, don't post this on Reddit. It wouldn't be wise. This is coming from AoE IV World for Conquer and up. From the latest information I can get on AoE IV World, says that French going into against Malians, out of 131 games, French have only won 35% of those games into Malians. Malians actually, another fun fact, we'll talk about this later too. Malians across the board are actually the worst. If you take from, I think, gold on up, Malians are the worst civ to pick, have the lowest win rating. But if you go Conquer on up, they're the top 3 in the top 3. So interesting that they've been figured out by pros, but they're not being used by lower level players or even mid. I mean, really gold and up is mid-level play. I mean, that's people who actually learn the game. So interesting stat for you, but yeah.
Most definitely. The pro players they really get it. Cause they have Malians, I feel they have the micro to really utilize some of these strategies, how they do crazy, warrior scout mass, and they just know how to play very well. And they got the Grand Theft Venison. They know what they're doing. So, but as far as the casual player, I think once that Ferrimba Garrison build kind of died out with this new patch, Malians kind of sunk because they were if not, I believe 1 or 2 last season.
They were definitely up there when the Ferrimba Garrison was as strong as it was.
Bane of my existence.
It was such a clean build order to get that, and you're in such an advantageous position when you got the Ferrimba. It seems
to me that there is another viable build order with the alternate build order from that, basically going for the exact opposite landmarks in Feudal and Castle, going that warrior scouts that. They are a top 3 civ in Conqueror. So I think I wonder if that's just a matter of it. The meta hasn't trickled down to us plebs in plat and gold yet. Potentially,
but it also makes sense. If they're top 3 in Conq, that's why they were picked so much in Golden League, because The top players know how to play them.
Most definitely. I'm getting really sad that no one's using the Griabara. No one is using no one's using that landmark. I'm like, yo, come on, you got it. Yeah, just click it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, just to wrap up Golden League. So yeah, it's pretty much the if I look at the standings here of every player, the top 10 players that placed in Golden League, I know anybody recognize his name. Number 1 player with 220 points, Lucifron. He's the one that came out the most victorious. Then I believe, then Marine Lord was second, then Beastie Cutie third, then Vortex is fourth. Those are the top 4 players going to the playoffs. Fun fact, Lucifron, the very top player, and Vortex, the 4th player, they are brothers. That's pretty dope. So I think they're based on seeding. I think they're going to be the first game next weekend when the playoffs start. And just to round it off real quick for the next 5 players, 3DB, he came in 5th, Whammo 1, and Puppy Paw 6 and 7, who are also brothers, not just brothers, but twins. Pretty crazy. And then in 8th place goes to Lenok, 9th goes to the Muslim, and 10th to round it off is Recon. And so it was a pretty nice tournament. It was pretty good. And so now next week it's only on. I think it only takes place. I don't know if it's only one day. I think I'll check that, but I think maybe the whole weekend. I think it's one last weekend. So the final 4 players are Lucifron, Marine Lord, Beastie, and Vortex. So that should be fun to watch in the upcoming weekends. See how that's going. I tune in live, like it's March Madness. It's weird, but but yeah, it's a good watch. It's a good watch. These guys are really. You watch these games, man, and it's something that interests you about it, man. These dudes, the way they play, it's like a whole nother, another species. How just how evened up they are. The games, just the slightest mistake will end the entire game. It's insane. But yeah, that's Golden League for you.
Nice. Too. Thank you, Sir Nevels. That, I have another game for us today. This one's going to be, I think, a little bit shorter. Our last game was really long, but there's a lot of discussion in between. This one should be a little bit faster and maybe a little more fun for the listeners, especially to hear. You guys at home can play along if you want as well. We'll see how you guys do. I have Beale and Sir Nevels. You guys have the buzzer open still, right?
Okay, I believe I'm good.
All right. So here's how the game's going to work. I have the music for Age of Empires 4 ready to go. I'm going to, at random, I've got my list of I've already randomized it, but I've got my list of songs for the theme song for each civilization. And how it's going to work is I'm going to play it, and then the first one to buzz in will make me stop the music, and you're going to buzz in and then tell me what you think it is. And we're going to go that way. If you get it right, you get a sheep, you get the ding ding. I think my ding ding is, I think I've got that ready still too. Which one's my ding ding?
Wait, my fault. I'm sorry. Wait, so you're going to play the music? I'm sorry, I was getting.
Yeah, the moment I hear the buzz, I will try and pause the music, or I'll stop the music, and then you'll either guess it right or guess it wrong. And then I'll either resume the music or it might start over again. We'll see.
There's no multiple choice. You're not hooking us up multiple choice.
Nope. This time. You just got to guess it. And this will get easier as we go because obviously there'll be less to pick from as we move forward. But I mean, it'll be, I do have a tiebreaker in the end. There's 10. Wait, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, there's, how many civs are there? There are 9 civs?
There's 10.
Yeah.
Which one am I missing? I'm missing one. Let me double check real quick. Let's see.
That's beautiful. Can't wait for more. I'm so excited.
I've got French, I've got Mongols, I've got English, I've got Rus, Otto, HRE, China, Abbasid, Delhi. I don't have Malians yet. Where are the Malians at? Let me add them in the list here.
Were you reading those off in order?
Nope, I was not. I was bouncing around.
Taking notes over here.
Yeah, man. You got a notepad opened up.
I deliberately jumped around. It made it really hard for me to think about it. It made me really hard to think because I had to jump around in order to keep it mixed up. All right. So with that, let me get ready for let me clear the buzzers. I have Sir Nevels. I have you disconnected, my friend.
Oh, no.
Let me make sure you're in here.
Says a minute. Oh, I think let me try to refresh. Okay, get the new game. Get the game code. Boom.
Go ahead and try a buzz for me real quick, Sir Nevels.
Yeah, I got you. 1 second. I refreshed it. Here we are. Okay.
Now you're in. All right, there we go. Hopefully Everyone heard that? All right, that's the buzzer. We are going to start with our first one. Everyone's in. Here is your first song. I got Beale.
Is that Mongols?
No.
Wait, do I have to still buzz or wait? Can I steal?
You can steal. Yes, Sir Nevels.
I think is that HRE.
That is HRE. Yes, indeed.
I was waiting for the chance. Although I guess I buzzed in a little too soon.
Yeah.
You were ready. I like that. You were ready.
You already buzzed it. You already buzzed it. Very good. All right, HRE.
Get this in 3 notes.
All right, here comes our next one. Beale, you got in first.
That's got to be English.
No. Not English. Sir Nevels, you were the next one to buzz in.
French. That's how I was thinking.
Yep, it is French. It is French.
Yo, Bill, you saved me because I'm about to say English for sure.
It was one of those. Yeah.
Say English for sure.
All right, I think that's Sir Nevels. I think you're up to 2 sheep today.
Oh, just
Nevels got 2. Beale has a goose egg right now and no sheep yet. All right, let's go on to number 3. This is gonna be harder than that. This is probably harder than I think. This is fun.
Oh.
All right, Sir Nevels.
Gotta be Mongols.
No.
Oh.
Beale, you haven't buzzed in yet, so you can.
Yeah, can I just write out the rest of this stuff?
If you think it'll help. I'm gonna clear the buzzers. You guys can keep going. Feel free to buzz back in.
I can buzz in.
You can buzz in again. You can buzz in again.
Well, then I gotta buzz in.
All right, Beale's got it. What do you think, Beale?
Shoot, is that Abbasid?
No, not Abbasid.
We gotta play this again. Yeah, okay.
Are we going back and forth? Okay.
Sir Nevels?
Man, I wanna. That Delhi?
Nope.
Oh.
Let me skip a little head further in here.
Okay, I got it.
What is it?
Okay, that's not Roos, is it?
Nope.
Oh
Wow.
my God! This is I don't
Going through all these.
Going through all of them.
I'm not. Now I'm starting to feel that. I'm like, oh man.
What's even left?
A lot of civs, actually. If anyone, what do you got for me, Sir Nevels? Or is that? I don't know if I cleared it or
Beale,
not.
no,
That's Beale. Okay, it's Beale.
Yeah.
Is that China?
No.
Really?
Okay, I know. Okay, I got it.
You guys are really bad at this.
Now.
What is it, Sir Nevels?
It's got to be Ottomans.
No.
What?
Who's left? Mali?
Malians. It is Malians. I'm going to award you guys 0 points for this. No one gets a point.
Don't give me any points.
Yeah, no points will be awarded for this. This is the Malian
Going
song.
down the list. Well, I've played Malians once.
Yeah, I don't play Malians at all.
Yeah, that one's a tough one.
That
one was a tough
I
one.
struggled with that one. It's
hard with the intro. I don't know. Maybe I would have got it if it was like mid-song.
Maybe
that deep like throat singing. I thought it was the Mongols. I was like, oh, yeah, Mongols for sure.
That was gonna be my guess. Yeah, you beat me to the buzzer.
All right, clearing the buzzers. Here's our next one. Right now it is 2 sheep for Nevels, 0 sheep for Beale. Here's our next song. Beale, you got in.
That's gotta be the Mongols.
That is the Mongols.
You got me. Oh, you got it before me. I heard
that was the throat singing. That one's iconic, I think.
That one, yeah, I knew that one for sure. Dang.
Right, Beale is on the board now. It is 2-1 still. And Nevels, you still have the lead. Let me clear our buzzers again, and let's find our next song here. Where's it hiding? There it is.
I got my hand over on the space bar. Oh.
Beale, you beat Nevels. What do you got?
That English?
That is English. Well done.
Dude, English has a beautiful theme song.
Yeah, they do. They do. I actually, for all the hate we were going to give China this episode originally, I do love, and my wife has said this too, she loves the Chinese music. It is so nice. We'll get to that one later though. But yeah, that was English. Good job, Beale. Next song coming up here. All right, let me clear my buzzers. And here it is. Sir Nevels.
That's gotta be China.
No.
What have
Beale?
I done?
Abbasid?
No. Here it is again.
I was going for Abbasid too, Bill. Don't worry, it's not you.
Sir Nevels.
Roos.
No, not the Roos. Now, I will say the cool thing about these musics is that they're all actually, they all play the same song, essentially. I've listened to a lot of these. They all play the same themes, the same motifs. It's the different instrumentations that really make this different for the most part. Beale, you also had a buzzed in. Did you want to guess?
It's Ottoman?
It is Ottomans, yes.
Oh,
I really thought you'd catch that one sooner, Beale. That's a 3 sheet for you now.
I played a lot, but
about to get the reverse sweep. Oh no.
All right, there's still some game to be had. We're not even quite halfway through now. So
All right.
let me find our next one here. Here's our next song. I can feel you guys thinking on this one.
I feel like I heard this one. Oh.
Oh, they're thinking.
And you're right. The opening do sound,
Dude, this sounds
so similar
already. This looks like I thought we heard this one. Oh no.
Beale, what do you have?
Abbasid.
No, Sir Nevels.
That's not the English. Okay, China.
Nope. I'm gonna let it keep playing here. You guys are just gonna keep hearing it. Maybe it'll get to the next age and it'll be easier. These are all. It starts in the dark age for each of these. That's why it's so hard, I think. Beale.
Roos.
It is Roos.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Dude, I really thought I had this to start. This is actually really hard.
Yeah,
There's so many
not easy. Is it?
Like you mentioned, man, there's so many key details I do not pay attention to when I play. Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
All right, we're getting right through these. Now it's time for the next one.
All right, I gotta get it.
Sir Nevels.
Oh, that's China for sure.
That is China. Yeah. Yep. Yes, indeed. All right. That was real easy. So some of them are so much easier to pick out. See, for me, HRE, I like immediately recognize it. I that one.
I don't know why I did.
Yeah, China's an easy one to catch. All right, we've got, I think, 2 left. So I hope you guys been keeping track of what's been done already. So I know you guys have shouted a lot of things. So maybe it's hard to keep track.
Oh, yeah, it actually really is.
Sir Nevels, you had it.
Abbasid.
It is Abbasid. Good job.
Oh, man, is it a tiebreaker? Who's come down?
I think we're down 4-4. So I think this last one's going to decide it here.
What's left?
I'm not going to tell you. I can't tell you.
No, I'm saying, no, you're right. I'm trying to think in my head. I'm thinking out loud.
Beale's just like spamming it.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Wait a minute. So are we doing... So there's 2 left. We're only doing 9 saves, so there's 2 left still, right?
Oh, there's 2 left now.
There's 1 left.
There should be 1 left because I didn't award. There was a point I didn't award because you guys were off.
So are we not? Okay.
It was 4-4.
Yeah.
I see what's up now. Okay.
This is now our tiebreaker here. I had a tiebreaker just in case, but this will be our tiebreaker now.
Wait, Bill, you already buzzed in, dude?
It's not going to count. I'm going to clear it after it plays for just a quick second.
Oh.
All right. Delhi is correct. It is correct.
Dude, I think I got bugged out of that one.
I think it did. It really did. Boy,
I was so ready to say Delhi. I was so that good.
You were going to say Delhi? You're going to say Delhi?
Oh, that's only the one's left, right?
Yeah, that was the only one that was left.
Yeah, that was the last one.
Yeah. That's how we knew me.
Extra point real quick. Extra point if you can, Nevels, if you can guess If you can
Is it a
guess
two-pointer?
what this one is, real quick, I'll give you an extra point.
This is not the main. What?
It's not the main theme, no.
It's like the menu music, I thought.
Yeah, it's called Dawn of Glory.
Yeah.
This is where you sit when you're just hanging out. The main music.
Oh wow.
The main music sounds like this. It starts off as you're open. This is what it plays as you open up the game. This is the
Okay,
iconic.
so wait. Oh yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
that's a
but
classic.
they all play the same. Like they all play the same. I think it goes from a first to a fifth note. Which I mean, there's the first and the fifth. There's some musical theories that goes into these, but yeah, that was our game.
Yeah.
Pretty fun stuff. I think Beale snuck a win there.
Yeah, that was good.
But you guys, I think it got easier as you guys went further along. Those first couple ones were pretty rough.
Yeah, let's say he's in process elimination. That's how I was.
Yeah, I got my list here.
Yeah, your list. Beale's been writing it down.
He's like, oh no, okay, that's going. Yeah. Oh, that was crazy. That was crazy.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that auto took a little while for you guys to get right.
Yeah, I play them so much, but I guess I do have the music volume turned down a bit on.
Yeah, me too. I actually play with no music in game.
See, I can't quite get myself to ever do that because it's just so nice. I love the music of this game.
Yeah, it is really good. It's really good. I'm about to probably put it to like just really low in the background because the music in this game's audio. This is where I think the game really succeeds. Is the audio in the game is excellent from everything.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
The Malians, we really stuck with the Malians.
Dude, the Malians. I was thinking about it too. I was like, would I recognize the Malians? I would probably guess Abbasid before I guess Malians.
We guessed everything besides.
Yeah, that was like the last one.
The last one. We guessed every little thing in the game.
Yeah, Malians won. I think as it goes on, it definitely the drums kind of have that beat.
Most definitely.
And the chanting, I think, would maybe give it away too. But dude, can you imagine how cool a Polynesian civ would be? It just reminded me like the chanting. It just reminded me kind of like the Polynesian. That'd be kind of a fun. They weren't really historically a major like power in the ancient age, but man, that'd be kind of fun.
Dude, honestly, we probably have a whole episode about so many civilization ideas.
We'll have to do that eventually. I saw one for a really. There was one I was looking at. It was a really good write-up on what a potential Viking-esque civilization would be. Because the Vikings, the problem is that the Battle of the Hastings, if you look at like the beginning of the campaign in this game, the very first English game is the Battle of Hastings at like 1066, I think. I could be wrong on that date, but it's like 1000 AD, somewhere in that range. I think 1066 sounds right. And that basically marks that battle, the Battle of Hastings, when the British or the French, the Normans kind of came in and invaded England. That kind of marks the end of the Viking period in England.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, for the most part. The Vikings were more prominent from like 700 to about the end of the Battle of Hastings. That's kind of where their main heyday was. And a lot of that's kind of before. The game kind of starts at like the turn of the millennium and moves on to about 1400, right before the Age of Exploration. So Vikings kind of the civilization idea that this guy had come up with. I won't go too in depth with it, but basically was kind of marking that as it kind of showed that they were a raiding civilization in the beginning. And then around age 3 and 4, it changes to be more like the Danes instead. And it changes to be more of a normal European civ instead, which I thought there was some cool stuff. He had some cool things ready for it. It was really cool. I wish I remembered who the guy was and where it was, but it was one of those Reddit posts that you find. And he just did a really in-depth analysis and idea. And I thought I really wanted to play it. It like matched my play style perfectly. So I really wanted it, but
there's a lot of guys on Reddit who do like 100% mock-ups. They do like mock-ups of they do the art and everything.
This is one of those guys who really like found the landmarks, found what like just did everything for it. It was really cool.
Very good. I think like I have his name in the Discord, but like he's really good. Like anytime he posts something new, I'll post it in a little little sub channel. We should get him on.
We should get him on for when we talk about potential stuff. I'll have to reach out. We'll have to find him. Yeah. If you're listening out there, if you know who you are, send us a thing in our Discord. We would love to chat. All right, guys. I think we'll take a quick break and then we'll get on to our main discussion of the day.
All right. Sounds good. I'm gonna grab some more water.
Most definitely. I need to find some water too.
you tired of your pansy army getting wiped off the map by some dorky guy with a bow and arrow? Are you tired of losing games because your opponent is cashing in too much dough? Are you tired of your mom breathing down your neck telling you that your life is going nowhere and that you're never going to be a pro gamer because you can't climb the stupid ranked ladder? Bruh. Well, I'm Rex Equitex, and I'm here to show you my 3-step program through www.morenights.com. I'm going to show you how to really pack a punch in just 3 simple steps. First, pick your stable. Then, you're going to spam that W key. Finally, you're going to get those knights. After that, it's simple. You just need to sweep the villagers, walk away. Sweep the villagers, then walk away. Here at Rex Equitex, we live by a couple of proven rules to keep your knights as efficient as can be. Rule number 1, buddy system. No more knights flying solo. Your knights are better when they are with other knights, so make more knights. Rule number 2, you gotta dress for success. You think some villager is gonna be scared from Peter Pan walking around with a pointy stick? Forget about it! That plume on your knight's helmet is a statement of superiority. So join my dojo and learn under the tutelage of me, Rex Equitex. Learn more at www.morenights.com.
www.morenights.com is not responsible for the mishandling of your knights in the event that you do not follow Rex Equitex's buddy rule. We are also not liable for running your knights into spearmen, archer pilings, town center fire, boiling oil, or cannon emplacements. All knights should be treated with the respect that all dangerous killing machines deserve. Discontinue using knights if you feel you are climbing ladder too fast, are pregnant, might become pregnant, or are against committing war crimes in Age of Empires 4. All knights should be handled with care. Learn more at www.morenights.com.
I'm Rex Equitex, and I approve this message.
And we're back. We don't have a whole another hour to go, but we have some time to keep chatting. Our main discussion today, in lieu of talking about how to beat China, we'll do that another time. We're going to be talking instead about what are the hardest matchups for each civilization. And this will be kind of an open discussion. In our outline, I've kind of listed what I think, according to AoE IV World, are some of the more difficult matchups. And we'll kind of go through a lot of these. Actually, I was surprised right now, according to AoE IV World, looking at stats from gold on up. So I've excluded silver and bronze from this to stop skewing our results. But from gold on up, Ottomans is the best civ by win rate with a 53.3% win rating. And Ottomans has some of the strongest matchups in the game. I think the only matchup that they have a negative under 50% rating is actually into English. So that we'll start with there. English, Ottomans into English is a tough matchup. And Beale, you are our resident Ottomans expert. What makes it so hard, do you think?
Yeah, so playing against the English, just the fact that they can build their base so compactly to really prevent any sort of early raids from having an effect is what I struggle with against going into the English. Plus the fact, they're going to be throwing down a barracks anyway, so they're going to have spears for your Sipahi and longbows to take out the archers that you're going to make in feudal as the autos. But you do run into just a weird. It's tough. English is tough to raid, and when I play auto, I like to get my advantage through feudal raids, the Sipahi raids in the feudal age. Picking off villagers when I can, transition into a better castle in an advantageous position. But
as the English guy, this is one of my favorite matchups because it is favorable to English. I've noticed that you can just ram rush into Ottomans and that can be really effective. You can do a feudal all in because the spears that come out in the Dark Age aren't going to do anything because you've got a civil defense force with all those vills who have their short bows. So spears are not a problem. That and the Gatling gun of a TC. And then the raiding party you can make. I think my only thing I've noticed that does me ill is if I don't make enough spears to defend my archers from the Sipahi. But as long as I get some spears out there, it's a composition that's just designed for English to thrive in. And I think the English economy does better long run as well into Ottomans because, Ottomans can produce a lot of units. But the moment English goes for let's say English goes for a 1 TC feudal push and then moves into Castle Age with the King's Palace. So then you've got two TCs. Ottomans have to either go two TCs themselves, or they have to fend off the feudal push. I think it's a tough matchup for Ottomans, and I'm not sure what the solution is for them.
Yeah, I mean, I've lost to a variety of English plays, like a feudal all in. If English are really gearing towards that, they can mass a little bit before, because as autos, you're going to start thinking about putting military schools down. I mean, you're not going to in the Dark Age against English, because you're not going to get anything out of that. So you play with a different build order against English to try to get up to feudal as fast as you can, so that what you make out of your military schools are worthwhile. But then English could just quick, fast 2 TC or fast castle, and Otto can't really do anything against castle age units if they're far behind. Like, men at arms are a big problem for the Ottomans before they get to castle age.
I was gonna definitely try to add, like, just in general, like against the Ottomans, Ottomans playing English or anything, like dealing with early men at arms. I feel like what against the English is a struggle in itself. Like, I really, like, if you push me really heavy feudal age with men at arms and like bowmen or something, I struggle. It's like, I think any civilization struggles on how to kill those men at arms in feudal when you have really no direct counter. I think
the English men at arms.
something.
I mean, looking at the Sipahi, which are basically horsemen but cooler. Men at arms easily counter in a direct fight horsemen. I mean, they just counter easily.
I think only thing that can really kill the men at arms in feudal age that's not a crossbowman is camel archers for the Abbasid. They actually trade with the men at arms really well, and then they can also kite them, because men at arms, they are really good, but they're slow.
Yeah.
So like that's like the best part about them. And they don't do that much damage, to be honest. They're very tanky. They do not die.
Yeah, you do not want to see a men at arms mass from English, especially in feudal age. And that's actually one of those things I like to do as an English player. Is the spears are great, but man, once you start trickling a couple men at arms, doing that early transition sometimes into them can really just catch your opponent off guard, and I love that.
Mm-hmm. And like, think about me, we're going back to the Ottomans. Me, the civilization I've been, which I might have to make a switch up. I might have to reevaluate my life here, because I don't know if this civilization suits me anymore. I don't know. I might have to do a live dropping of a civilization, but I've been really trying to run Abbasid again this season. And maybe with the updates, I've been doing really poor. But so Abbasid, Ottomans, I really struggle with the Abbasid, because the Abbasid, usually, you want an eco boom. That's kind of like they're like bread and butter. You want an eco boom, and especially if you get the way the tech upgrades work now, where your fresh food stuff comes from your TC, and now it's kind of more fertile crescent. So the economic one, which is the reason why I love Abbasid, like, not really as an aggressive civ. I love it for their eco booms. And when you get all your economic upgrades, you kind of want to get, for it to be like kind of like pay itself back, you want to get at least 3 TCs at some point. And that takes time. And really, if you're trying to go for like a decent, efficiently timed third TC, you're not going to have much military in the field. And that right there is probably why the Abbasid has the second worst win rate against the Ottomans, right above the Malians. Because for some reason, like, by the time you get your economy online, the Ottomans just have so much military in your head. They're like, anytime I play against the Ottomans as the Abbasid, like, I just try to get, like, you almost have to like completely redo your entire build order. They force you to go to a more aggressive Abbasid, which they have really good trash units, but not the way you want to play it. And it just, I don't know. I'm struggling very much against the Ottomans.
Yeah, the stats definitely back that up. The Abbasid in general are the second. This is for gold on up. So this isn't true of everything. You got to take these with a bit of a grain of salt. It's a pretty large sample size, though. Out of 36,000 games, Abbasid have a 48.1 win percentage overall, which on its face isn't horrible. That's 2% under 50, which would be like the perfect average. So this game's parity is pretty good, but going into Ottomans, they have a 41% win rating. Not great.
Yeah, and as an Ottoman player, if someone really wants, English can defend a little easier than any other civ, but scouting out that your opponent's going 2 TC as soon as they hit feudal is like hitting the jackpot, because that second TC is going to take time to pay itself off, and Ottomans can just pump those units and just overwhelm from the minute they hit feudal age.
So then Beale. So the one looking at the stats, the one civ that has a positive win rate against Ottomans is the English matchup, like we mentioned. And I think a lot of that kind of speaks to what you're mentioning. Going to town centers, English can do that, but I think the most successful way to go is to play the feudal game and age up with the King's Palace. I think that's the way to go. Would you say that maybe that's what other civs should? I know not every civ can do this, but is that the play, just to play it in feudal, fight in feudal, and castle up instead?
Yeah, I'd say trying to go 2 TCs against Ottomans immediately when you hit feudal without even establishing any sort of military is almost kind of suicide. Because Ottomans will roll in with archers and Sipahi and just start picking off villagers and, transition into rams and prevent any sort of military from you actually gaining some sort of foothold.
I'm happy you mentioned that. Yeah, I think I had to 100% rethink my strategy as the Ottomans, because, like you said, suicide. I have lived through it. You are most definitely correct. It's not worked for me. I think one time, I have to go 1 TC aggression pretty much every time.
We don't have a ton of time, so I don't want to go in depth on these other ones. But other civs that have, again, there's I'm looking across the board. Other civs that have their worst matchup into Ottomans include the Malians, which across the board have a 37% win rating against Ottomans. Now, again, pro players, that might be a bit different, but across from gold on up, 37% win for Malians into Ottomans. Delhi has a 42% win rating. So another really low win rating into that. And then I think those were the main ones. I think French has a rough time against it as well. French has a rough time against Ottomans, but French actually into Mongols is worse. So French into Ottomans is 42%. French into Mongols is only 40%. And I think the reason for that, I don't think we need to talk very long about French either. I think they're in a rough spot this season, and I think it's because you cut off the gold, you neuter them.
Yeah. And I think that gold, I think it's pretty much over.
Yeah, I think French just need that gold vein the moment you pressure them. I think it's a lot harder to raid with French than it used to be. There is one that is actually the best matchup for French, and the hardest matchup for HRE is actually French with 46%. Yep. And then Mongols being 47% for HRE. So French and HRE is the one good one. And I think that kind of leads to that HRE wants to, of course, fast castle 9 times out of 10. And obviously go for the Regnits usually. Would you say for those kind of matchups when HRE is going against a hyper aggressive opponent, I've noticed this as an English player, HRE is really good. HRE doesn't do the standard build like I wish they would. They have modified it. I hate it. I'm going to pick up HRE more and more because of this. The Burgrave, the mine work into Burgrave is the way to go against English as HRE. And I'm wondering if it's a similar situation with French and Mongols, or what the play needs to be changed to make that a better matchup for HRE.
Yeah, I don't know if Burgrave French, the Royal Knights eat up the men-at-arms.
That's true.
That's why you'd go. Castle is HRE because you can get there faster and you can get your strong men-at-arms out. Eventually they'll get the heavy maces and it'll be closer of a fight, but then French also have the Arbalesters who come in and can also just wipe out men-at-arms. Also, the fact that French are going to take map control in feudal if you're HRE. Good luck getting your prelate to those relics. What do we think about maybe a
Burgrave, and then just pumping out spears and then maybe some land snakes? Would that be a better way to go?
I don't know. The French are gonna will always add in archers after the first couple of Royal Knights.
It's that's not the French though. The French it's okay. I don't know if there's any sports. People who are a big fan of sports here, but they're kind of like the big fan here. A big team here is Golden State Warriors. They are they're a team, NBA team. They were very good at shooting 3-pointers. And it's if they're online hitting their threes, they were doing great. But then if they were failing at hitting their threes, they had a low percentage. they pretty much they just were a massive disadvantage. Kind of how I compare the French. Like the French, like they live by their knights and they die by their knights, and they pretty much live by the same strategy and die by the same strategy because they're going to pump out a lot of knights and they're going to have them accompanied by archers pretty much every single game. You kind of know exactly what their military comp's going to be. So, like, I think pumping out spearmen in theory, it sounds like it would be, perfect. Like, you got spearmen, kind of the knights. But by the time you hit, like, especially if they fight you in feudal, they're going to have a good amount. Anybody who's a competent French player is going to have a decent amount of archers, too. And those archers, like, just the knights are tanky, take a lot of damage, and those archers behind those knights are going to pick those spearmen off. And most likely, like, I think the reason why the French have a good win rate against HRE is because they just put out a lot of feudal aggression, where HRE are really not that prevalent. They're not, I mean, with the mind rate upgrade, they can do a little bit more, but usually you go in Aachen Chapel. That's what I've been seeing a little more mind work, but I think just on a normal casual basis, you're going more Aachen Chapel. And with that, you're not going to have too much units in the feudal age, where that's where French have the advantage, most definitely.
Another one. Speaking of HRE, moving on, I'm kind of just going through each civ has a really bad matchup. HRE matches up really well. We were going to talk a lot about this, I think, but we'll save this maybe for next time or the time after. China's worst matchup by far is going into the HRE with only a 45.8% win rating. What do you think about that? What is the reason why? I've got a couple. My main thought is that, one, for China going into HRE, the Jugunu are basically worthless unless you get a million of them. Not easy going into men-at-arms who just take the paper cuts like nothing. That, and I feel like China wants to boom, and HRE doesn't mind booming either. I think if anyone can boom, I mean, HRE's boom is different, but man, they start pumping out. They get the Regnants up with an Aachen, and then they start pumping out the men-at-arms. It's just such a dangerous combo. What does China need to do to overcome HRE?
Yeah, it's tricky because you think of China, you think of like the progression of their unique units and what you typically see in a China match, like opening with Jugnus, followed up when they hit castle with Nest of Bees and Palace Guards. And you think about what HRE has, and it just beats all three of those. Like, even Nest of Bees don't do that much damage against men-at-arms. And with the fact that, like, China's bases tend to be a little more compact, they're not super looking for big map control at the beginning. It allows HRE to just scoop the relics up.
Maybe that's the play. Maybe that's the play that China needs to branch out and take map control instead. Maybe that's the way to go. Maybe with a forward Barbican of sorts.
Yes, I think that HRE do. I feel like they have a different type of, like, they both are kind of boomy civs, but they boom in different ways. Like, where HRE are kind of like HRE really come online when they go to castle, and they can get castle. There is one of the fewer civilizations that get castle faster than China. So, like, they can get castle really fast. And once HRE is in castle, usually China is kind of like just, a lot of times they go two TC song, or they want to like kind of get their economy online as far as villager count, where HRE, they can hurry up and get regnants. And by the time they hit castle, they got all three of those relics. And now China is kind of at a disadvantage when it comes down to what their military can actually do against the men-at-arms. And you have so much gold, you can pump out so many premium units that really China can't keep up. So I think HRE just get online in a different way faster.
Yeah. Leaving HRE behind again. Sorry, we don't have tons of time, so I want to kind of get through a lot of these. I'm going to just briefly touch on Ottomans again. I'm just looking through all the civs, and the Mongols have a really rough trade into Ottomans with 43%. Malians have a horrible percentage. Delhi also struggles with Ottomans. Abbasid struggles with Ottomans. The Rus also struggle with Ottomans, and I think it's for similar reasons, because the free spears come out. Rus wants to go maybe early knights. Ottomans can just take map control so easily. I think it denies a number of things. I wonder if the way for Rus to beat Ottomans is to go with the Kremlin instead of the Golden Gate. I've been seeing the Kremlin up a lot lately, and I'm wondering if that's the way to go.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's a good call, to have that extra defense at home, and then to be able to build those militia and have additional defenses.
Most definitely. Golden Gate's kind of dying, I think, maybe a little bit. Not dying, but like,
so
I'm not
weird,
seeing a lot of
right?
Golden Gate. Yeah, I thought it was the best landmark in the game.
I think we said on like either last episode, I think we literally said this is the best landmark in the game. And now it's being usurped by a Kremlin. I'm completely bad. It's amazing. And it's like, well, if people are going for Kremlin over Golden Gate, does that mean the Kremlin is now the best landmark in the game? Or does that now go to the Aachen Chapel?
I don't know.
Anymore.
That's a hard call. Because like, it's funny because the Kremlin was like a meme. People may thought it was a joke.
Yeah, the changes they made to it.
It has usurped the best landmark in the game. So I don't know. That's a good question. Like, is it the best landmark in the game?
I bet if they reverted I don't think they're ever going to do this, but if they ever reverted the town center cost back to what it was before the change, I think then Golden Gate would immediately get back to being what it was.
Oh yeah,
but yeah, Kremlin has taken over.
It's good. It's good, and I think the way you implemented it against the Ottomans is actually pretty good. It works. I feel like that'd be more, at least it could work as far as their aggression.
That's a matchup I'd like to see more of, I think. Because right now it's 44%. Let me actually see what it is on Pro. I'm curious. Looking at Conquer on up, the Pro scene says Rus actually has a 56% win rating against Ottomans, and I think it's because the Kremlin. Now, again, only 170 games have been analyzed, so that's not a huge sample size, but that's a very different look. Rus are the second highest civ right now for Conquerors, and I bet it's because they're using the Kremlin.
Wow, it's like night and day results with people who are really good at the game.
Yeah, well, it takes a while. It takes like a season for all these meta changes to kind of come down to us in the lowly areas of gold and platinum, you know? All right, there's one last, before we get to our extra sheep, there's one last matchup. I've been saving this one for last because the English main in me just loves this one. So technically, the hardest matchup from the stats that for English was French with 46%. I contest this. I think French are in a horrible spot. I think that's more of a holdover from lower players and from old stuff. I think it's a holdover, and I think it's out of date because I would say that Delhi which is the second hardest according to the stats. 46 for French, 47 for Delhi. I think Delhi's actually gotten better against English than it was.
Yeah, feudal age Delhi. Delhi comes online like their power spike is at the perfect time to just crush the English. They've got additional production on horsemen to deal with the horseman archer combo with a couple scholars in those production buildings, just cranking out those units, just crush what the English can put on the field at that point in feudal.
What does English need to do to win? Do they just need a Dark Age rush? Start cranking out men at arms instead?
Dark Age rush is definitely a valid tactic against Delhi. Delay that gold, make the early eco as difficult as possible for Delhi.
Because I think looking at Delhi, like if you look at like the power spikes overall, where did I find this? I was looking at a graph of like the win percentage according to length of time of game. And Delhi has one of the lowest early win ratings within the first 5 minutes. So if you end the game soon, like they almost always lose. Obviously, that's not a hard and fast rule by any means. But I wonder if that screams, hey, dark rush them, make them rage quit before they even get going.
Wow.
I don't know.
Yeah, that is certainly a strategy. I've definitely done it as English against Delhi before, and it's worked out for me. To just try to cripple their economy before they can get their machine in a feudal age going. And then, alternatively, you don't lose and take the game to Imperial. And then you're also in a pretty good position. English Imperial, definitely stronger than Delhi's Imperial, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Delhi's Imperial is too late.
I think that's all of the ones we were looking at. I know, Beale, you don't have too much more time with us here. So I think we'll take a really quick break, and then we'll come back with our final extra sheeps.
All right.
Beautiful.
Hey, Socerton here again. This is just the part of the show every week where I do some shout outs, do some housekeeping before we close out the remainder of our extra sheeps. First of all, I want to shout out to our very first Patreon subscriber who's donated and pledged a couple dollars a month. Super duper awesome. We see that. We appreciate that. We do have a goal to raise $100 to support the podcast. It takes $100 to host it per year. Also, there's a lot of other expenses and software and stuff that we've been using that I've got set up. Every dollar that we get is going to basically just go right back into the podcast for now, trying to support our content and make it better for you guys. I also want to shout out, actually, before I do my more shout outs, the Patreon link, if you want to be a supporter of the podcast, that is in the description. You can just click it. It'll take you right to the page. We appreciate every little bit that we get. Back to shout outs. I want to shout out some peeps, mostly you guys as listeners to start. We've had about almost 600 downloads worldwide of our first 2 episodes. So pretty stoked to see that. It's a pretty good turnout. Of course, we always would love to, grow the podcast, grow the show even more. But I wanted to shout out, in particular, our friends down under. The Australians are pound for pound really punching above their weight here. Good chunk. They're the second largest country as far as downloads. Obviously, the United States being number 1. But the Australians, man, you guys are listening, and I'm just stoked to see it. So appreciate you guys, and everyone else around the world who's listening. I definitely am just tickled to getting to see every single little country get filled in on the map. You guys are spread all across the world, and I hope you guys are enjoying the content. I also want to do some other shout outs to AoE Beale and Sir Nevels. They each have a Twitch channel and YouTube channel. I think they actually each have both. You should definitely check them out, give them follows. Of course, I'm Socerton. If you want to follow me too, the links of that for all of our channels will be in the description. You can hop on in and follow us. And we do a lot of live streams and videos as well. So if you like our content, you can find more of us. Speaking of finding us, we also have a Discord channel. Or rather, I have a Discord channel where I have a thread for this podcast. If you want to ask us a question, and maybe we can add a new segment to the show where we answer your guys' questions as viewers and listeners. I've got a thread for that. So the link for my Discord's in there as well in the description. You can head on over. If you ever have a question you want to ask and have us talk about on the show, that's where you'd go and do that. I think that's about it. I don't have too much else. We've already talked about Rising Empires in this episode. If you're interested in that, definitely go ahead and check them out. I will shout out the Griot Barrow one more time. It's a great Discord thread to find team games. Sir Nevels started it a while ago. It's just grown immensely since the months that he's done that, since late last year. So definitely check it out if you want to find some people to hang out with and play. Everything under the sun that's AoE can be found there. I think that's about it from me. Again, I'm Socerton. Let me head you guys on back to the rest of the show. And we're back. Time for our extra sheeps. I've got like 3 extra sheep almost. I've got a couple I was thinking about. I think I'll go ahead and start if you guys don't mind. I'll start with my extra sheep, and then we'll go maybe me, and then maybe Sir Nevels, then Beale. So for me, I finally beat the Malians. This was like right after we finished recording our episode last time, 2 weeks ago. That week, I finally beat the Malians on the as English. I finally did. It was the hardest thing. I think most of that's because he tried going for the old fast castle with Farimba, and I just Dark Age rushed this guy. I set a man at arm over, got him off the gold. I went feudal all in. It worked. I was on the pit. It was my proudest moment. And I was like, that's my extra sheep. But then I had a really cool experience just a day or two ago. That was actually my new proudest moment in this game. I don't know if anyone knows Blade 5555. He's been doing some fun. He's been doing some fun games right now where he'll do a nomad, a modded nomad, and I am definitely not qualified to be playing against him or Core or any of these other guys that you guys would recognize, like Wham or Puppy Paw. Like they were these guys. These guys were in this game, and I got invited into this. It was super cool. It was basically, it's nomad. So everyone knows nomad mode, right? You got your 3 villagers. You got to go find a place to build your TC on a mega random map. So it's just this fiasco, and there's like 8 other players. It's crazy. The trick is everything builds instantly and produces instantly. So, and there's no pop cap. So what ends up happening most games is that you end up having like 100 traders for like 500 gold each. And then you just end up having a wall of knights and 1,000,000 rams. And it's just an absolute mess. I'm not good at this. I wasn't, the mode is really weird. I wasn't good at it. What I did though, I managed to actually beat and knock out Blade in one of the games. I was in the middle. I actually ended up as Malians, and I was cursing it. I was like, no, I'm Malians. I built my town center in the middle of the map. Probably the worst place it could be. But there was like 8 huge gold mines around me. So I just put pit mines on all this stuff, had like a million villagers instantly popping on my TC straight to the gold. And I just started clicking the Farimba. And because it was an instant production, the Farimba is just churning out Musafati like quicker than you could ever believe. So the Farimba just went burr. I sent them all straight over to Blade's town center and just torched it. I think he got double teamed actually. So I can't claim full credit for this. But my proudest moment in this game was being able to do that because I'm a plat like 1 player at best, plat 2 at best. Blades and Conqueror, dude. I'm playing Core was there, like Wham was there. Big name guys who are far superior than I am in skill. Like I was like the black sheep. Like I don't belong here. I'm just gonna get crushed. And I actually wasn't the last one out on that one either. I actually knocked out Blade. It's just such a fun mode because all the troops move super fast. Everything produces at lightning speed. It was just a really fun experience, really fun game mode too. So if anyone's out there, they should definitely check it out.
That's hilarious. I got to try to find a VOD of that.
Yeah,
yeah.
sure.
If you look up Beale, Blades games, he's been playing a lot of it, so he should have him on his channel. Definitely check it out. I was definitely the little troll who got to knock him out one of those games.
Wow, yeah, that's what's up.
All right, I think we'll go to Sir Nevels. Your extra sheep.
Oh yeah. So my sheep, something I tried with a civilization I'm not very experienced with, but somehow it worked. I don't know, like it was like it's a gold 3 game. It's not like it was too crazy. But so on my secondary account, called it my strategy, my little experimental account, I was playing as the Mongols, and I watched like a Beastie Cutie video, and he was talking about how with the oh my goodness, why I'm bugging you on the sheep tech that produces pastures. With Mongols, he said that with their food through pastures, you always know where it's going to be. A lot of people build their pastures around their TC with the Mongols because, of course, you get harassed. You can just garrison them up. So me, I was like, okay, I'm going to try something new. I'm just playing. If I lose, I lose, whatever. And what I did is that I built me a gur in the top left corner of the map, and I built me a bunch of pastures around that gur. And I had like 40 villagers, and I put a bunch of towers around it, and I had a bunch of villagers just collecting, like had all the pastures basically just spawning near the gur, and had all my Mongol villagers collecting the sheep at the gur and turning in. And then if ever got harassed, they just garrisoned up to the towers, which I fortified through the stone. So like pretty much my extra sheep is that a proxy pasture base can exist. I don't know if in higher levels it can, because the person I was facing was not expecting me to have most of my food in the top left corner of the map that was being guarded by towers and pastures. Like, so when he finally figured it out, he was trying so hard to attack my food underneath my town center. And I had my pastures in the top left of the map. And so and it might be a wacky strategy, and it might not work at any type of level, but he was not looking at all for that. Like, he didn't scout it out. Once he finally scouted out, like kind of towards the end, I had all the towers, and it was a pretty long game. This game I'm really sad I didn't record it. And I wanted to go back, and it just didn't even work. I'm so sad. That's anyway, hilarious. But when he got near my towers, I just garrisoned them up, and I killed them all. And they were like, they ain't winning the imp. And I put bombard cannons on them, the cannons on the towers. And he just couldn't even harass it at all. So I had just enough I went heavy on pastures. I probably spent a lot of resources I didn't need to, but I had pastures on my TC and in the corner. So he didn't know really how to really get into my food effectively. Because one thing I realized about if you are playing as a Mongols and people they go heavy and maybe they ram rush your main TC, and you can move your TC as the Mongols. You can move anything, and if you move it, it's a pain to try to move all those pastures too.
So just make a pocket. That's so cool.
So I made me a pocket pasture eco, and I brought it up in the Discord, and they're all dumping on it. They're like, that's not viable. That doesn't work. And I wish I would have recorded it. I did it at 3 a.m. I wasn't even ready. I was barely even awake. And I'm kind of sad. It was a really sloppy game. It probably wasn't that viable, but I realized that it is possible.
I love stuff like that. Your extra sheet, just making your own pocket eco. I love that.
Yeah, literally made it. It was dented for sure. It was out of this. It
awesome.
made zero. It was ridiculous. But yeah, I won though. I won.
I really wish you'd have recorded that. Alrighty.
I wish I would have too. I'm so sad. I can't even get back and get the buy. Like it's terrible. It broke my heart.
Alrighty, Beale. We don't have a lot of time, but the rest of the time is yours. What is your extra sheep?
My extra sheep is about the wetlands map and how it's when it is balanced for spawn generations. It's one of my favorite maps now, especially to play as the Ottomans, just because of the ponds for fishing lets you know like where it's kind of like a blueprint for how to raid in feudal, because everybody's going to try to fish. There's barely any sheep. So if you're looking for food in early feudal, once like your 5 sheep run out, they're going to be at the ponds around the town center. And those ponds are just far enough away from the TC that those are prime harassing points. So I've loved playing really aggressive feudal games on wetlands and just targeting those ponds, circling around, forcing them off. It is such a great map for people who want to deny resources in early feudal, because the lack of sheep mean you need to branch out to further away food eco.
That sounds like a good map for the French. Maybe they have a place in this game still after all.
The Roost do well in there too.
Oh, Roost do well. Too. Lots of wood on that map.
They say Roost is the poor man's French. That's what they say.
Not anymore, it's not.
Yeah, I don't know anymore, man.
The French are the poor man's Roost.
Dude, it breaks my heart every time I look at that win rate.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been another episode of the Extra Sheep, the unofficial Age of Empires 4 podcast. You guys have been listening to Sir Nevels and Beale. I'm Socerton. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll catch you guys in 2 weeks.
Beautiful.
See you later.
Another fine day, boys.